First of all, I would like to thank IPH for inviting me to share some of my thoughts on financing, especially my friend Deva, who has been a good friend and a colleague in this journey of finding pathways and exploring the amazing maze of India's health sector. And thanks to colleagues and friends at IPH who have put up with me at various points in time. I'll be focusing on 4 aspects. What are the major policy recommendations with regarding to financing of universal health coverage? Health financing in the past, what have been the trends? How much is it required to move or achieve universal health care? And is UHC feasible or possible in India? The moot question, I think, is what is the role that the government envisages for itself? Because one sees an increased shift from direct provisioning of services by government towards a role of more of public financing for private provisioning, which my friend Amit elaborated in the morning. I'd like to raise a question right in the beginning. Is UHC a different avatar of this so-called PPP, a new method of providing public money for private sector stimulation and growth? Because that is one aspect. And one of the important things is I was just talking to Amit, and that's one thing which comes, every 5-10 years we get thrown with something. It started with the World Development Report, then something called primary health care, then something called macroeconomics and health, then something called social development, and now we got this new animal called UHC. What is it, frankly? We get thrown with all this and we keep struggling, and fellows like Deva keep organizing workshops and meetings and all that, and then we get busy with all these kinds of things. I really would like to question, what is it? We have forgotten what is Alma Ata. We have forgotten what is primary health care. Now we are managing this UHC business, and by the time Girija figures out what is UHC, we have gone into another jargon. What have been the recommendations? We are fantastic in giving recommendations from various quarters on getting towards UHC in India. The HLEG comes out with this 2.5% of GDP. Planning Commission comes up with certain figures by 2020, same thing, 2.53%. What happened to the earlier recommendations? National Health Policy also did the same thing in 2002. 1983 also we did the same recommendation. UPA, NRHM also said the same thing in 2005. So what the hell has been said, something that is new? More important question is, what is this 2.5% of GDP and how does one arrive at this figure? Why not 2.6.5%? Why not 2.1%? How does one arrive at this figure? Or is it just thrown about in Nirman Bhavan and other corridors of power? Or 2% nahi 3% kar lo. Is it that's the way it is going on? So, I mean, the question is, you're pegging it at a denominator of GDP which has got its own volatility. At one end, last 4 years back, 5 years back, our GDP was 8 to 9%. So if you had pegged it at that time, how much ever money you put in, your thing comes down. That is one. Now what happens if we don't do well because of various things? Oh, then we'll achieve to 3% of GDP. So I think it's a misnomer, first of all, to look at GDP as a percentage of GDP. That is the first issue I would like to throw open. Second is, what has been our past in terms of financing? I'm not getting into it, but majority of it has been out of pocket, 70% at the point of service, public sector just barely 20%. External flows, we don't even have to mention them. They have become insignificant. Now this entire demon of out-of-pocket expenditure, it is a massive problem. It is an issue that needs to be looked at. Where does the money going into out-of-pocket? Everybody knows it's in medicines, diagnostics. These are the two critical elements. And what are we doing about it? Diagnostics, we don't even try to figure out. I think the last paper I read on technology was in the NCMH document. Otherwise, look at the way the technology is moving, look at the kind of diagnostic equipment that is coming, look at the kind of cut practices that are going on. We really haven't even got a handle on these issues. So now you find the thing called NRHM coming in 2005. You have raised the funding, the central government funding, especially from 5,255 crores in 2001 to about 8,000 crores in 2004-05 and 21,000 crores in 2009 and 10. That is a kind of massive funding that has gone in. But the moot question is, NRHM has provided this central funding, but the moot question is, how much is actually required? Even HLEG doesn't answer that. Or even Planning Commission doesn't answer. How much is actually required to provide universal health coverage? Do we have the figures? The last figure, what I could, was what NCMH had done. It had come up with, had made estimations on the requirement for providing core, basic and secondary services, and if it was assumed that the government would be the sole provider of the comprehensive package of services consisting of preventive, promotive and curative services, both primary, secondary, the country would require about 1 lakh crore. That would be the requirement for any package that the NCMH had come out with. Those are the only figures, and that is also the last figure we have got. After that, we really do not have. Even if you add inflation and you add all that, you see the figures jumping. Now look at how much just the central government is spending and how much. I'll come to those issues, this thing. Now, it is assumed that these services are to be delivered only through the public facilities. Then additional capital investments for beds, attendant, infrastructure and appointment of a large number of specialists by at least 3 times more to cope with the increased patient load would be required. So you're talking about a 3 lakh at 2005 prices, figures. Now I'm not even calculating, you can do the calculation, but most important is that is the kind of figures we are talking about. Now, in the context of these kinds of figures, however old they are, but one figure, we have got certain data, certain estimations that have been done. Is UHC feasible in India? I'll just touch upon some of the financing aspects. What are the options? Majorly to tax-based revenue. Can the government provide its share for the financing of universal health coverage? I'm not sure. Whether it is the central government or the state government providing this kind of money. The government has never allocated sufficient funds for the health sector. It has been right from independence days. We go about with this figure of 1.1%, that's the public expenditure. I would like to question even this figure, because if you look at the national health accounts that the ministry had done, this 1.1% includes other central ministries and departments. Now, if you include, that includes railways, defense, which have got huge figures. Now, if you just look at the breakup between MOHFW and other central ministries, you'll find that nearly 40% of it from other departments and other ministries. So if you really take out these figures, then your 1.1% again further drops down. So as you really look at it, what are we just to achieve that figure of whether it's 1.1 or 1.2%, you try to add on. So somebody says, why don't you add on nutrition, add on water, add on sanitation? So what is this that you want to actually, what is this figure of as percentage of GDP? Second question I would like to raise is, what is this public expenditure? If you look at public expenditure, most of the is on salaries and administration. Most of the, whether it is expenditure at the state level or at the central level, 70 to 80% goes into salaries and administration, leaving very little for medicines and others. How much is the share of central and state in public expenditure? One of the major questions is, Health is a state subject. So if you really look at it, state provides a major care, the financing of care. Now, in terms of, but again, salaries. Now, if you really look at NRHM, now how much of the state governments are willing to chip in their share? Now, NRHM shows that state governments are unwilling to provide that kind of funding which they had committed under NRHM. Now, under UHC, are they going to chip in that kind of money, resources for the UHC? Because their own finances are in doldrums, you know. And the major thing is how much the state can squeeze out of NRHM, get the money from NRHM. That is the bottom line, if you really look at it in that context. Now, even if you assume that there is sufficient funding for universal health coverage by some method that, okay, somebody gets a bright idea and says, okay, we will provide whatever is required, whether it is at 4 lakh crores. Now, the question is there capacity to utilize that funding in the public sector? That is the question. Again, I come to NRHM, 40 to 50% of the funds that do not get utilized under NRHM. And it's very correct. I mean, you go to the district health officer or the CMO. He says, why should I spend the money? If I have the more money I spend, more audit questions I get. My pension will stop. So the question is, what is the incentive for more public spending, at whether it is at a state level or at the district level? You know? So I think these are questions in terms of whether we have the capacity to utilize this kind of funding. And it is the same CMO who's managing 30 programs, you are putting him one more program and telling him spend. And you're expecting him to become a manager on top of it. So I think you'll have to really look at these kinds of questions. Second option is insurance and alternative. If it is one of the options, expansion of ESIS and CGHS, many of them have been saying that. But remember, ESIS is a central scheme. Getting any act passed in the parliament, especially the way the parliament is functioning, you can wait for the next 10 years on how it is. I mean, and CGHS, why should the government give up their own thing and expand it such a way? So, I mean, let's talk about something that is feasible. It's nice to make certain recommendations in that context. Expansion of existing schemes, like whether it is RSBY or Arogya Shri, I think discussed enough in the morning, and I think 4 of the speakers are going to speak on RSBY. I'll leave it to them. The question is also, does funding for insurance-based schemes replace the state's funding for its own healthcare facilities? Are you subsidizing the funding? That is one question that needs to look at. If you are looking at provisioning public expenditure or providing in the private care with public provisioning, in the absence of standard treatment guidelines, no costing of services and procedures, price transparency is never an issue. Is an issue. Capping on prices and fees charged, the rampant cut practice that is operating in the country where everybody knows, but there are very few studies on this because it's very easy to do studies on public sector. I go to health secretary and get a letter and go around doing all this. But is it looking at just look at the cut practice that goes on, the commissions that go on, but we have very little documented evidence on this. What role does the Planning Commission play, especially since it provides mostly plan expenditure? My personal opinion is Planning Commission has lost its relevance, frankly, because there is a huge dominant private health sector which is existing, which Planning Commission has no role, no control, nothing. If it is, okay, last point. One of the important aspects of anything, whether it is financing or looking at, is the regulation. And I think we are very poor in that. There is very little information on private sector. There is very little transparency and accountability. We do not know the system of functioning. In the broader context of opening up the economy, how is the state going to regulate? Because many states are now unwilling to regulate this huge private sector. One important element which ma'am brought out was private practice by government doctors, because here I understand it's not public and private, because this guy is sitting in the public facilities and doing private practice. So what do you do with this guy? Because most of the time he's not there, he's doing private practice. So this thing about private practice by government doctors is another aspect. Finally, health is a state subject. How much do the states have capacities to conceive, conceptualize, provide resources, mainly financial, put institutional mechanisms with regard to regulation, governance, information systems, technology, to undertake UHC in whatever forms various gurus of the health sector are propounding. And the last thing I would just like to raise is, what is going to be different than what is existing presently of this supposedly UHC or free care for the people? And finally, I think we might end up with only pilot projects, which the Planning Commission is doing. We can have 2-3 pilots and they can remain on as pilot projects. Thank you.
Dr. Sunil.